Southampton Town Board to order on this 23rd day of February, 2023. Please rise if you're able and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Sunday, would you call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Schneiderman.
Here.
Councilwoman McNamara. Here. Councilman Martell.
Here.
Councilman Bouvier.
Here.
Councilman Scavone.
Present.
Always one.
Always will be.
All right. So we're going to review the draft agenda first. So this is the agenda for the February 28th meeting, last day of the month. No leap year this year. We will begin the meeting at 6 p.m. It'll be here and hybrid, and we have three public hearings. Public hearing to consider amending Town Code Chapter 262, which is the registration of foreclosure properties to comply with the recently amended state law S3933. It's sort of lowering what we charge for those holders of those properties, foreclosed properties. 2 is public hearing to consider the acquisition of 127 and 137 Mary's Lane, North Sea, and amend the Community Preservation Project Plan to include 137 Mary's Lane, amending CPF Management and Stewardship Plan, including those properties. Third one is on public hearing on the acquisition of development rights at 7, 9, 11, 12, 15 Marsden Street, Sag Harbor, and to amend the Community Preservation Project Plan to include 15 Marsden Street and amend CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include those properties. You guys are all familiar with that. All right, so any questions on public hearings? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to Town Board resolutions. Rick, you want to read the
Sure.
first?
Town Board Resolution ID 42502, authorized purchase of heavy-duty parts, Sterling, Mack, Ford, Kenworth, and Peterbilt from Gabrielli Truck Sales Limited using the Suffolk County contract. Town Board Resolution ID 42537, authorized purchase of liquid blended phosphates from Massapequa Water District contract with Carius Corporation. Town Board Resolution ID 42638, authorized purchase of snow equipment, parts, accessories, and cutting edges using Town of Huntington contracts.
42583, authorized purchases from Omnia Partners contract with Amazon Services LLC. 42508, authorized purchases from Omnia Partners contract with Home Depot USA. 42504, authorized purchases of aftermarket vehicle parts from Napa Auto Parts using Sourcewell contract.
ID number 42585, authorized purchases of heavy construction equipment with related accessories, attachments, and supplies from Komatsu America using Sourcewell contract. 42550, authorized purchase of meter pits and ancillary equipment from Core and Main LP using the Town of Riverhead contract.
42505, authorizes purchases of process services from One World Judicial Services, Inc., using Suffolk County contract. 42500, authorizes me to sign an intermunicipal agreement with Sag Harbor for fire marshal services. Tommy John, you're next.
42064, authorize the supervisor to execute a 2023 cooperative agreement with neighboring villages for the town to provide shared computer services.
ID 42546, authorized supervisor to sign a contract extension for traffic line striping and traffic markings with Seneca Pavement.
ID 42632, authorized supervisor to sign a contract with Scranton Technology Solutions to service the shredder records management.
ID number 42582, authorize the supervisor to sign a renewal for IT technical support ticketing.
42639, authorizes the supervisor to sign an extended contract with Nelson Pope for professional design services for HVAC-related services for Central Garage. 42636, authorizes me to sign contract with Nelson Pope for professional services related to the Town Hall Solar Photovoltaic Feasibility Study.
42482, authorize supervisor to sign a DPP with Toshiba America Business Solutions Incorporated for copy machine for town attorney from Eastern Suffolk BOCES contract.
42609, authorize the purchase of a steel pavilion and installation services at East Quogue Marina.
42492, authorize the supervisor to execute a service order with Box Incorporated for Business Plus account licenses.
42552 authorizes me to execute a contract with Rayner Group, PE and LS, PE LLC for professional engineering and permitting services in connection with the Bridgehampton Senior Center. 42480 authorizes me to execute a no-cost extension of terms of contract for the preparation of a supplemental generic environmental impact statement for the proposed Riverside Sewage Treatment Plant, Hamlet of Riverside.
42624, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Johnson Controls Security Solutions for monitoring and maintenance of the burglar and fire alarm at David W. Crohan Flanders Community Center.
Sunday, before we get too far, I'd like to be added as co-sponsor to 42552. That's the contract with page 20.
Got it.
With Rayner Group?
Mm-hmm.
For the senior center, okay.
Right. And 42480, page 21, for the contract step for the generic environmental impact statement.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
What are we up to?
42543, this authorizes the supervisor to sign a statement of work with Signified Upgrade from City Touch Software Service to Interact City Software Service for the remote management of adapted nodes on town streetlights. Town Board Resolution ID 42491, authorize the supervisor to sign a time extension contract with West Hampton Beach School District for equip project.
42640 authorizes the supervisor to sign an extended contract with Nelson and Pope Engineering, Architecture, and Land Surveying PLC for Shinnecock Hills Extension. 42581, authorize town attorney's office to select and engage surveyors from pre-approved lists to provide specific surveying services for the Fire Island to Montauk Point project.
Town Board Resolution ID 42606, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract for 2016 used F-350 service truck with Otis Ford Incorporated. Town ID number 42607, award and authorize supervisor to sign contract for a 2021 used Ford Super Duty F-550 with Newlands Bay Shore Ford Incorporated.
42547, declare item surplus and authorize disposal of vehicles. This is quite a number of vehicles. And the resolution lists the year and make of them. And I'm assuming there'll be some sort of auction related to that. 42541, recall and amend resolution 2022-1218, authorize the supervisor to sign consultant agreement with Susan Western to assist the Southampton Town Police Department with the development of Southampton Town Police Department directives and implementation into the Lexipol software system. 42540, recall and amend resolution 2022-1255, authorize the supervisor to execute an extended agreement with Hellview Corporation for maintenance and support of broadcast equipment and software for Southampton Channel 22.
Sunday, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor of the previous two.
Okay, pages.
Page 30, 42541,
Town 20.
and then
Did I say Channel
42540.
22? Channel, it was for Channel 20, that's Sun 20. And that's just the wrong GL code, so we want to reference the right GL code. And Cindy, you got the ones that Tommy John wants to
Yes, I do.
co-sponsor? All right, 42542, recall and amend Town Board Resolution 2023-52, contract for 2023 Chevrolet Malibu. Tommy John?
42625, renewal of Zendesk for IT technical support ticketing.
Town Board ID 42628, 2023 notice to bidders for requirements contract to furnish and install asphalt concrete. Town Board Resolution ID 42551, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
John?
Town Board Resolution ID 42551, the 2023 notice to bidders for roll-off containers.
42536, 2023 notice to bidders for sports courts resurfacing and construction requirements contract. I think that's for Red Creek.
It's actually for several within the park system.
So, it doesn't really say, does it? But I know we are resurfacing.
Yeah, most of it's Red Creek Park. I think part of it is for Hampton West.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, John, you're next.
Town Board Resolution ID 42612 is a 2023 notice to bidders for structure demolition at 62 Red Creek Road, Hampton Bays.
62 Red Creek Road, I guess that was a CPF acquisition.
It's a, was also reviewed with Landmarks Board as no bid.
42575 amends the 22 budget for various departments. It's a housekeeping resolution. 42579 amends the 23 adopted budget for land management department.
42559, amend 2023 Department of Land Management Building and Zoning Division commercial fee schedule.
And I think we held a hearing on that
No,
at one point. Did we?
no.
No, I guess we don't have to.
It's fees in the building department.
42560, amend 2023 Department of Land Management Building and Zoning Division electrical fee schedule.
Just looking at the fees. Do we have what the changes are? Oh, it's just the yeah, I see it now. They're way toward this, it's a solar. The changes are under solar. We're going from 100 to 500.
That's on commercial.
Solar rooftop not to exceed 6,000 square feet, solar ground mounted up to 30 panels, and wind energy conversion systems, it becomes $500 fee. And then each additional panel is $2, maximum fee 30,000. Okay.
And on the electrical, we are adding a fee for solar applications. For electrical.
Where's that?
That's on the next one. That was the only change on the next one.
I didn't see that.
Well,
Under
we have a larger law coming forward.
When you get to page 47,
Oh, on 47.
yeah,
Okay, not on
the
that.
next resolution.
The next resolution, okay, got it. All right, so you just.
I already read that, yeah. The only change is we're adding a fee for solar.
Where's,
It's on page 47.
47. You can read
oh,
it
yeah,
on
solar,
48.
$100, yeah, that's it. Okay.
42558, amend 2023 Department of Land Management Building and Zoning Division residential fee schedule.
And what are the changes here?
Page 49, bottom, residential solar.
We added it for $200.
49 bottom? Oh, yeah,
Page
residential
49.
solar, it goes from 0 to 200. Okay. John?
Town Board Resolution 41564 is amend the 2023 to 2027 capital budget and add capital project North Sea Skate Park.
Can I co-sponsor that one?
Sure.
Can I actually get added to that as well, Sunday?
I know we're not putting a lot of money in there, but it does need some help there.
It's also spread out over a period of years.
So 42588 amends the 23 to 27 capital budget for water quality improvement projects, Mecox Bay Inlet. And,
I'd actually like to co-sponsor that, please.
so that adds, what, an additional 47,000?
Yeah, it's page 51, 42588.
Got it.
Thank you.
And we're accepting funds, is that how this is working? And adding it to that project?
Correct.
Okay. That's, I guess, the funds they got from the sand sales?
Yes.
All right. 42633, authorize town attorney to sign a stipulation of settlement agreement. That's, I think, at no cost to the town. 42613 retains Greenberg Torig LLP as it relates to the matter of the Colonials Way. It's Colonel's Way?
Colonel's Way.
Sorry, Colonel's Way. The Colonel's Way LLC versus Town of Southampton et al.
Downward Resolution ID 42497 is a notice of adoption to amend Chapter 123 Building Construction and Chapter 330 Zoning to add sections pertaining to the regulation of solar energy systems in the town of Southampton.
And what is this for?
We, as you recall, we had 2 work sessions on this over.
Have we held the public hearing already? We did, right?
Yes.
So this is the resolution of adoption. This is the new solar code.
Yep. I think we're going to page, it's lot 68.
Town Board Resolution ID 42620, resolution of adoption amending Chapter 312-9 of the Southampton Town Code authorizing an all-way stop sign at the intersection of Squires Avenue and Jones Road in East Quogue, New York.
Sunday, can you add me on that? That was on the.
Certainly.
Accept
86,
Right.
86.
There we go. Town Board Resolution ID 42241, resolution of adoption amending Chapter 262 of the Town Code entitled Registration of Foreclosure Mortgage Properties in order to comply with recently amended state law S 3933.
Sunday, could I be added as a co-sponsor?
Can we just, so the fee is, the only change is really the fee, right?
Correct.
That's set by the
And
state.
it's going from what to what?
It was 500, it's 75.
575.
No. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to tack on anything there. But it was Ryan's
I see
opinion that
another
we,
change, the word owner is just becoming occupied. Determine that, it said owner occupied, now it's just occupied, taking out the word owner.
right.
Doesn't have to be owner occupied, let me see.
Ryan Murphy said the information we get from the registration, it would take a considerable amount of assets of ours to compile that same information, so it's good to stay on.
And it's going from semi-annual registration to annual registration. And it looks like we're able to set the fees now on a yearly basis. We're doing an annual fee schedule. So this probably doesn't even set a fee.
Where the state sets the fee for now.
Yeah. All right. Tommy John, want to read the next?
Yeah, I went past it. ID number 42434, authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the North Sea Fire Department Annual Carnival from June 28th through July 2nd, 2023, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Could I be added as a co-sponsor, please?
On the streetlight?
On the
Carnival.
carnival? Oh, I'm
For
sorry.
the North Sea Carnival. Waiving the fees.
Town Board Resolution ID 42597 is authorized the installation of a new streetlight in East Quogue. Town Board Resolution ID 42598 is authorization, the authorize the installation of a new streetlight in North Sea.
These are not traffic lights, these are just
These are
lamps.
street
Lights, yeah.
lights.
Yeah. Street lamps, yeah. And the utilities are paid by the lighting district. No, the first case, not, second one is not within a lighting district. All right. Up to 42563, accepts resignation of an animal control officer, 1, in public safety. 42924, accepts retirement of Maria Pokovich, custodial worker. Oh,
Maria?
it's Maria's retiring? Custodial worker 2 in municipal works. Oh, I will miss her.
I know.
She's just the joy to have in this building. She does such a good job, too. It's just so pleasant. I've also known her a long time, too.
Talking about Maria?
Maria,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I
So
think-
we've had a lot of conversations
Yeah,
about what her
she's always
future
stops
holds.
and has a
I think I know her
conversation.
back to the, like, East Hampton days somehow. Maybe she worked out there, too, but,
I don't think so. I think she came in when
there's something, I
Supervisor
know,
Heaney
maybe.
was here. She came in.
She's been here a long
That's
time, yeah. She's just nice to run into in the hallway. She's
Oh,
always,
she's very
always
pleasant,
have a good
yes.
conversation.
And she is the saver of every orchid that's ever died in someone's office. She
true.
brings them home, nurtures them back to health, and then returns them to you. I was sure mine was a daughter.
Really?
Oh,
Really?
yeah, she has some special.
That's a gift.
Wow.
Yes. That could
That's
be her
incredible.
next
Oh.
pursuit.
All right, well, we certainly wish her the best. 42530 appoints Alexis Moranchel to scale operator from civil service list. 42532 appoints Andrew Rayner to assistant cook in senior services. 42531 appoints Brian Corial, scale operator from civil service list. 42534 appoints James Durier to senior environmental analyst and trustees. 42533 appoints Joseph Furlong to network and system specialist 2 in information technology. 42539 appoints Lisa Merker to senior office assistant position in building department.
ID 42538, authorized town engineer Thomas Houghton to attend the U.S. Department of Energy Better Buildings and Better Plants Summit. And to Tom's credit, he got recognized for some really good work he did on behalf of the town, and was getting recognized for that as well.
Oh, that's awesome. 42634 is a notice of public hearing on the acquisition of lands of Peconic Bay Development LLC, amending the CPF management and stewardship plan to include that property. This is 33 Peconic Trail in Flanders. And that hearing will be on March 14th, 1 p.m. 4266 is a public, notice of public hearing on the acquisition of lands of Rhonda S. Hessner and Dara Smith Yates Trust, and amend CPF management and stewardship plan to include those properties. This is 3.1 acres of land at 209 Hayground Road in Bridgehampton. And that also would be March 14th.
Town Board Resolution ID 42615, notice of public hearing to amend Chapter 312, authorize stop signs at the intersection of Wakeman Road and Gardenia Road in Hampton Bays, New York. And that's also March 14th. Town Board Resolution ID 42614, notice of public hearing to amend Chapter 312 to authorize stop signs at the intersection of King Street and Gerald Lane in Hampton Bays, also March 14th.
42603, it's a notice of public hearing to consider a local law amending Chapter 244, transfer of development rights certificate program to acknowledge the inclusion of sanitary flow credits. And
120.
And that also is, what, March 14th, I'm guessing? Yeah, March, no, sorry, it's not. It's Tuesday, March 28th at 6 PM. All right, 42580, notice of public hearing to consider a local law amending Chapter 330-7, acknowledging transfer of sanitary flow credits. So that must be for the 28th as well. Yeah, March 28th, 6 PM. 42601, notice of public hearing to consider a law amending Chapter 330-9 density incentive provision to acknowledge the inclusion of sanitary flow credits. One more. And I'll assume this is the 28th as well. I haven't got there yet. Tuesday, March 28th, 6 PM. 42599, notice of public hearing for RFP selection of development proposal and current zoning amendments required to effectuate waterfront revitalization or renewal plan at 20 Shinnecock Road, Hampton Bays. Now, this is
special.
Bel Air,
Mhm.
and how would we,
It's a special meeting
well, this is just a special meeting,
on the 29th.
right? It's not putting the, yeah. And concurrent zoning amendments. Because we're not sure what those zoning amendments are. One is sort of a hotel use, doesn't require a zone change, so we could still do a zone change to make it a conforming use, but it would be a continuation of a non-conforming use. And the other one would be a new non-conforming use, would have to use the provision where we could go from one non-conforming use to another, so we can get into that, but this is, you guys wanted to hold it here, so that's, this would be a public hearing March 29th, so I guess it's a Wednesday, and it's an evening meeting, and it should have some hybrid provision here.
We're required to.
Yeah, it does mention telephone or the Zoom app. Okay, and no questions about that, right? 42600, acquisition of land at 3398 Noyak Road and 146 Old Noyak Road, Noyak, amending the CPF management and stewardship plan to include those properties. That's 3.2 acres of land. We had the hearing on that one?
I don't think we did.
Can somebody just check, because I'm not seeing where the note that says what day the hearing was held.
We had it, I think consider these should be stricken, and just say acquisition. We had the public hearing.
It doesn't mention, oh, it does say something, the January 24th, 23, Southampton. A public hearing must be held, okay, which was held on January 24th, 23, so we did hold the hearing. It's a $1.2 million acquisition. I just need to
Yeah,
have,
it should say authorize the acquisition, not consider.
Yeah, authorize.
Authorize the acquisition.
shouldn't it authorize me to how do we normally phrase that?
Authorize the acquisition. And the title.
In the body of it, it'll authorize you to sign documents.
Yes, we need to fix the title.
Is that the only place?
I'm just looking, I want to see
Yeah,
the town of Southampton should be authorized to purchase land.
the last be it further resolved authorizes you to sign the contract.
Yeah, that's a supervisor. All right, so we just need to fix the title. So
Just the title.
I think just the title, right, Christine? And it's gonna be the same issue in the next one too. The 42561, consider the acquisition of land at 12 Bating Beach Road, Southampton, and to amend the CPF and stewardship plan to include that property. This is owned by Michael Belisis Revocable Trust. It's 1 acre, 12 Bathing Beach Road in Southampton for $500,000. And I guess the hearing was held on January 10th on this one. So we just need to fix the title. Christine, you'll work with the clerk on that?
I'm sorry?
You'll work with Sunday on that?
Yeah.
All right, so there's two more in the walk-on the add-on packet. 42641, schedule additional combined seeker zone change public hearing for the application entitled The Preserve at South Country Road for a change from CR 40 to multifamily plan residential district on a 17-acre parcel, proposing development of 104 units, 6 units per acre of affordable rental housing in the hamlet of Quiog. And then 42640, authorizing the acceptance of a grant for the police department of, I think maybe it should be two, to facilitate the implementation of body-worn cameras.
That's what it says. Grant for the police department to facilitate the implementation of body-worn cameras.
I have a
Authorizing
missing
acceptance of
two.
the grant.
On that, it's actually in the actual resolution.
Okay. Okay. Sunday,
Yeah,
I'd like to
two.
be added as a
Yeah.
co-sponsor.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
resolution's
I'd like
correct.
to be added too, please.
Sunday, could I be added as well?
Okay, on the last one,
Yes.
okay. Is that everyone?
Yes, please.
I can't, it's hard to hear.
This has
Yeah.
been an initiative of the anti-bias task force for
And the
so long.
supervisor
It's
is
nice
the-
to see it finally happen.
Well, this is, it's not happening yet, but this is accepting 240,000.
This is a really good
Grant.
start.
This is in addition to the federal aid that we got. This is
Yeah.
another 240,000.
That's great. And we're still hoping that we can roll out the cameras before the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think they're in the final stages of selecting the system and then ordering the system, so it's soon. All right, any questions on any of the resolutions? The one on Quiog, that's the secret one.
Combined.
Is that the final, is that a final hearing? What, Christine?
No. It was an adjourned date, I guess? You're entitled
There-
to
It was,
more if
I
you
know
want
it was
it, but-
request of planning for additional hearing on some grounds.
Yeah, because I thought we had closed the hearing. Um, And the date on that is Tuesday, March 28th.
28th, 6 PM.
When do you have on
Okay.
that?
So Sunday's good to publish, everybody?
We're gonna go down and make the changes that are required. We'll wait for Christine to tell us how to fix the acquisition
Yeah, those two resolutions. just need
resolution,
title
and then
changes.
we will put it up as soon as it's complete.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on. Only 10 minutes behind, which for us, I think is pretty good. So the next item, CCA, which is Community Choice Aggregation, not the wood additive, wood preservative. CCA Outreach and Electric Energy Supply RFP, request for proposals, and I'm joined by Deputy Supervisor Frank Sapone and Lynn Arthur from the Town Sustainability Committee. I also have notes of Town Engineer Tom Houghton joining us, maybe, and Glenn Weinberg from Jewel.
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Weinberg had a personal emergency this morning. I just heard from him about 20 minutes ago, and he will not be able to attend today's meeting. It was the plan to update the board on our CCA program. In January, LIPA finally cleared the last hurdle for CCA programs to be functional here on Long Island. And I have a slide presentation that Mr. Weinberg prepared, but as our CCA administrator and without his expertise to answer some of the questions that I'm sure you'll have to ask, I'm going to ask the board to allow us to postpone this presentation to a later date. I think his presence and his expertise is important to address any questions you may have, and the public needs to hear from the administrator, who's been through this process before, and their expertise is very relevant. So my apologies for the delay, but I would ask the town board to postpone today's presentation for another work session day, hopefully next Thursday, but I haven't had a chance to speak with Mr. Weinberg, so.
I think next Thursday's canceled, correct?
Yeah, next,
Yeah, it'll be at your convenience, and hopefully a way that we won't have, in my experience, this kind of postponement has rarely happened. But the Jewel staff is based in Westchester, and it's not an easy commute, but the plan was for them to be here.
we could have zoomed in, but I know
Well,
he had a personal emergency, so.
And I only got the information almost at the start of this meeting, so we didn't have time to change gears.
Frank,
and
would you take a question or two?
I'd be happy to.
Does the board have any questions? Is everybody familiar with CCA? Because I know it sort of predates some of you guys.
Yeah,
it's-
and that was one of the, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jay, but that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do this, because some of our board members were not here in 2018 when the town board first approved a local legislation that allows for CCA. That's something the state requires. Each municipality in the state that has a CCA program must pass enabling legislation at the local level. We did that. In the simplest terms, what CCA is, community choice aggregation. It gives the town board the authority to seek other suppliers of electric energy other than the utility that's currently providing energy, electric energy to the ratepayers in the town of Southampton. You can do that by issuing an RFP that seeks what's known as ESCOs, electric supply companies, to offer energy at a rate, in our case, at or below the existing rate. And in our case, also the flavor or the preference of the board and the community is to seek renewable energy sources for that supply. You have to go through an RFP process. It's very formally outlined by the Department of Public Service, and we have to follow that prescription. If there, I mean, that's a
In
general.
our agreement with Jewel, because we selected Jewel as our administrator,
CCA administrator, that's correct.
is that we would only move forward if the rate was the rate with any other surcharge and fees was lower than what the actual we're paying now.
That's correct.
You know, my understanding, although electricity is now allowed on Long Island, where it wasn't, the LIPA fees and pass-throughs and things like that still make it so that it's impossible to deliver electricity to people at a lower rate than what PSE&G is.
I
That's
think
my
I
understanding.
think that's a subject for, this RFP will make that determination. I think that's
Okay.
what some opinion is. Again, I don't want to speak for
No,
the
so
expert.
we could find out by,
Well,
Uh,
could I just suggest that we have, we had this presentation that was set up to get the information that we need, not to speculate. So I think it's important that we hear from Jewel and from our administrator going through this process directly, so we can ask those questions. That's what this was set up to do.
yeah, that's fair, but while I have Frank here.
Well, I think to answer your question, Jay, I think the obstacles that existed have been overcome. Whether or not it will result in what we're looking for, only the RFP.
We'll find out.
We'll find that out with certainty.
Okay.
Our administrators indicate that largely because of the global market changes in energy, ESCOs are far better prepared to offer pricing that incorporates all the considerations that you're
Okay.
outlining here. So
Now,
the way to
Brookhaven-
test the water is to get in the water and find out
So
what
the town of Brookhaven was in the news this week because they entered into a CCA for gas,
for natural gas.
natural gas, with Natural Grid, is that the company, National
Grid
Grid?
Energy.
Was
Oh,
it-
The National
primary supplier is National
I think
Grid.
it's the only supply, that's the only ones that.
Correct.
So there's
Similar
really-
to the fact that LIPA, or PSEG LIPA is
So
our
it's like,
own.
they're like the ESCO, but they're the only one because they have, it's their infrastructure that it's going through. And they are saying that it's going to be a $5 million savings total, but it's based on certain assumptions about the future, that the rate in the future won't be lower than the last 12 months. So they're sort of locking in at a rate slightly below the last 12 months
Right.
for a 2-year period. Because I've been looking into this. So it could actually save them money depending upon where gas prices will be, you know, in the variable system. It's hard to predict that, but it's a fixed rate guarantee at a rate slightly below what the average of the last year is. And now, I don't know whether gas makes sense for us, because most people have their own. There might not be enough customers who are on.
Yeah, I think
National
the
Grid?
decision to seek electric energy supply is the right decision for us. And again, the way to determine whether or not, having overcome the technical obstacles, if you will, with tariff regulations and software changes that LIPA had to go through, put out the RFP and see what happens. And if, like any other RFP, if what you get back is not what you want, then you reject the RFP. Now, that's a general process, and you're talking about putting some safeguards into the process that protect the town and the ratepayers. They are there. I'm not the person to explain all of those to you. I would rather have Mr. Weinberg here.
Yeah.
To
But
give you a
generally
full
speaking-
presentation and answer your question.
Frank, we're discussing electricity here.
Yes.
I
Solely
mean, not,
electricity.
it's just that I wouldn't want the public to be
We're
confused.
not looking at gas.
Gas, we're
because I
looking
don't
at
think we have enough
electricity,
customers.
CCA.
We are not.
We don't
Perhaps
have
the board,
infrastructure or the
would you
board.
consider reconvening our Thursday meeting next week? If
It
Mr.
doesn't
Wa-
have to be next
I can't
Thursday.
be here,
Let me-
but-
I don't want to propose a change without getting back to Mr. Weinberg and see when he is available, or someone else. He's one of the VPs of the company. I think someone who represents the higher level management of the company should be here to address the board.
Okay,
And I should add that
Coordinate.
we chose this administrator because of their experience in CCA across New York State. And they have a lot of experience and can answer specific questions that I don't think any of us can.
Yeah, and I don't want to conjecture.
There were 2 other issues that it's just worth noting. Just in doing some research in this area, where one is the company that was supposed to, you know, they're paying a little extra for renewables, and the company actually wasn't using renewables. So it just is something we need to look, if that's what we're willing to do, because we want renewables, we just have to make sure that the company is actually using renewables. And the other one was, you know, the CCA was really, in one particular case, was very beneficial because the rates had skyrocketed and people were locked into a fixed rate, but then the company refused to deliver. And then they had to get back to the variable rate, and it led to litigation, of course, but, you know, those are things to be mindful of.
Absolutely, Jay, but I will say to John's point that Jewel, I think right now is managing 30, over 30 municipalities in New York State, doing exactly what we're proposing we could do here. So I think they've experienced every variation on energy suppliers that we could possibly articulate here in our general discussion. So I'm confident that they have confronted issues like that
Well,
and
they
can
have,
share
yeah.
our solution, their
No,
solution.
100%, they're involved in that litigation I just mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, we've also done a lot of due diligence in the original contract to preclude some of the things that you were discussing as well. So it's not, certainly, it's a contract, not ironclad, but it's pretty close to ironclad as far as, so that we can move forward.
Yeah, no, these are just, I think, important considerations, but we can discuss it with Jewel too, how to protect ourselves from those types of situations.
Absolutely, and they're the one responsible for creating those protections in whatever contract we have. So we want to let them know what our concerns are and what structures they can put in place to address those concerns. I'm not prepared to share that expertise with you because I don't have it. So,
But it does seem like that's the sort of the typical mechanism, is they enter into a longer-term fixed rate agreement, like a 2-year fixed rate.
correct.
At a rate that's slightly below the past year. So there's a immediate savings, but there is there's predictability, but there also is some risk, you know?
There's always a slight amount of risk, and you're never going to eliminate it, but the question is, how well can they mitigate any potential damage for risk, and what's our recourse if risk does evolve? These are all fair questions, but it's not too different from entering into a contract with any other vendor who's responsible for doing important work for the town. You know, when we've hired vendors to design $4 million projects for us, and we know we need to seek protections and expectations and standards for what we consider to be acceptable. It's no different.
But this is
here. We
like,
should
I don't
apply
know,
the
so
same.
to the consumer, right now on their LIPA bill, it's a variable rate, month to month. It's day to day, it's potentially changing, so it's, they buy in real time, and whatever the best price, that's what they try to get. So it's a different model, so no longer you'll have the variation, the fluctuation. You'll pay the same amount per kilowatt for a 2-year period.
Well, whatever term is agreed to, but.
Yeah. well,
That's
yeah.
typical.
Yeah, but typically also, don't forget that we're in a market where the cost per kilowatt hour is third or fourth highest in the nation. So there's a big incentive here to do this, particularly with our year-round residents.
Well, and the other big part of the CCA administrator is the community-based solar, what's the other term, the distributed
CDG.
CD,
Community distributed generation,
Generation.
CDG,
right?
which is what initially our North Sea solar array will be a CDG project.
Is Jewel involved with that, or no?
Jewel is involved in the customer acquisition side of it, so you get enrollees into the program, and they're working closely with Kearsarge, which is a developer that we hired to build the facility and to manage it for the initial lease is a 20-year lease.
And when does the construction start, do we know yet?
It should start late this spring.
Oh, good. And I understand that the recent federal bill, the infrastructure bill, has lots of incentives for solar. Lots of programs to make it cost-effective and beneficial to put solar in. So
Well,
I-
we did submit, not to that particular point, Jay, but the town, in partnership with Jewel, did submit a grant to the federal government, the Department of Energy, for infrastructure enhancements throughout our community that would increase the feasibility of locally generated renewable energies. And we're awaiting a response from the DOE to see if our proposal was acceptable. It's a 2-part process. You send them them being the DOE, you send them a proposal, and they say, oh, we like your proposal, submit a grant application. We're in the do you like or not like our proposal stage, and we haven't heard back from them yet. So we're pursuing.
The other thing I wanted to mention, it's kind of interesting, we had a presentation recently about a sort of multimodal, I guess it's more like bike and walking trail that sort of exists through the rest of the state, but on Long Island, probably along the utility right-of-way. This would be a paved surface path in many cases for bicycles. Are you familiar with you may have been here for that presentation, but
That's
it's a significant
extent of my
proposal.
familiarity.
We agreed to fund a piece of it,
Mhm.
I think 20% or something, local match or something like that. And there are similar things being done elsewhere in the country with these bike paths along these power grids, but they've been experimenting really successfully with embedding solar into the pavement surfaces. And so you can tie right into the grid because you're right on the power lines, and it has the potential, because of that wide LIPA right-of-way, to be a significant source of solar electricity. So it's just something that we should look at and maybe talk with the people who end up involved with the bidding of the proposal, that we could have these nodes of solar and charging stations and all kinds of things along this pathway.
I
It's
think there are all kinds of creative possibilities available to us. Initially, as a town, as we enter into the renewable energy, locally generated renewable energy, it's probably wise of us to start by taking baby steps and making sure we can manage the situation well, and it is in fact as beneficial as thought it would be before we open up to a more grand
Yeah.
type project. But I think the path is
It's
clear.
worth
that
investigating. If we're
headed in
gonna
the
build
right
this
direction.
very, many miles of bike lanes, we should explore whether, while we're building it, we could be embedding solar into it and tying it into the grid. It
So
could be,
I will- I
could be,
will
a
s-
hu- could be
I'm sorry.
huge in terms of meeting our demand, our goal of moving to renewable energy resources.
So I'll seek some information from Jewel about the next best time for us to meet, clear that with Janice and the board schedule, and we'll come back. I'd love to stay and chat with you for a while, but I didn't have my second cup of coffee yet. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you, Frank. Thanks for all that you do.
Thanks, Lynn.
So, board members, I have Sandra Sancione lined up for 11:30 for exec personnel. We'll move the agenda forward a bit.
Okay, so.
Yeah,
Karen
let's-
signed up for about 12:15.
Oh, so you moved her to 11:30, which is now. All right, then we'll skip, I guess we'll skip updates,
Yeah.
because I have updates scheduled for noon.
Oh, and then go into exec?
Though we could do one or two updates, I guess. You moved Sandra though to 11:30?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we do our
I'm fine with
updates
that.
and then go into exec and
This time.
get it finished? And
Yeah.
No, it's 11:30
Do what we
now.
normally do?
Yeah, I won't say much, other than I think four of us were at the Association of Towns for the last couple days.
we had a quorum.
Yeah. I thought it was really
We were in
good.
different
It's the first time that they had been in person since right at the outbreak of the pandemic. It was, I guess, February of 2019.
20 was the last in person.
20 was the last in person?
Yep.
All right, 2020, right, the pandemic started in 19, but yeah,
Right.
2020, and there were some really good workshops, good speakers. Tish James spoke, and Senator Schumer spoke virtually. And,
Yeah, that's fine.
hopefully that those attended, who, got things out of it and picked up things. And I went to various workshops on different things, from PFAS, issues to financial issues. So I felt like I got a lot out of it. All right. Any other updates anybody wants to share? Things going on? Tommy John?
Yep. Last night in the village of Sag Harbor, we had our second of two public information sessions on a water quality project at Round Pond, something that we started in 2018. We're still on it. The pandemic has delayed us. And the neighbors came out and were very supportive of that project. So that's all good. And also, we passed a resolution to support the purchase of the Steinbeck home in Sag Harbor. And I want the public to know that the Sag Harbor Partnership, despite the fact that they have raised over $2 million, we are still short about $180,000. So please, we are looking for donations to close the gap. In addition to the private contributions that we had, the state of New York has contributed $750,000, and then, of course, Southampton Town Board has pledged $11.2 million. So we are close, so please, we are asking for the public support.
John, you have anything?
No, I don't.
Rick?
Well, actually, I just really quick, I just wanted to give a shout out. I did attend the first robotics meeting with the team there in West Hampton Beach, and they're just, they're really great kids. Just really exciting to see that. And I wanted to thank Optima Maltese. They're supporting 10 of our schools out here in different areas to go to robotics competitions, and I just wanted to thank them. And that was a jolt, that was a recharge for me to see the excitement, and this robot that they've come up with. It's really cool, so, thanks, guys.
We should have a little local competition too, because I know Hampton Bays is involved, and they don't always see each other in the tournaments.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
That's good. So I have a shout out to one of our employees. A lot of our employees, they They volunteer, they do their work outside of town hall, and they put a lot of hours in. But we do have someone in the tax receiver's office, Noah Brown, who coaches the Hampton Bays varsity basketball team. He took it over a few years ago. Well, he had a great run this year. They had a great, I think, a 10-4 season. They took it into the playoffs. They lost the tight game to Amityville. But that's all secondary to the impact that Noah's had on these kids. He's mentoring these kids. He's had these kids for a few years now. And, they've become young men and they're ready for college. And I really want to give him a shout out that he did such a fantastic job.
That's great. Anything else you got? Right, Cindy?
So at the Association of Towns, like you, I took a bunch of classes. One was great. It was actually the last class of the whole convention, and it was on ethics with Steve Leventhal. He did a great presentation. He does that every year. I also served as the voting delegate to work on legislative priorities that will be set by the association in the coming year. I'll just touch on a few of the priorities they're going to go with. One is to reform inequities in the tax cap formula. Two of the major things in that was removing both infrastructure project costs and special improvement districts costs from the calculation. They are working to support affordable housing while preserving local authority. And this was a great one that I actually would, don't really think of the downside of this is they are looking to have the legislation pass something to require prior written notice for trees planted or maintained by towns, being that if there is a damaged tree or a dying tree and it falls and causes damage, it's not basically the liability of the town unless there was prior notice to the town. Because what they're finding is a lot of towns are not wanting to plant trees in town right-of-ways and on town properties because of the liability they face when they do that. So those are just a few interesting things. Also took classes on cybersecurity was a big one. I think a bunch of us were at the one on legislating cannabis. And I'm pleased to announce that our own Kathleen Murray, I believe, has given us as much, if not more, information than we got in that class.
I think so.
So she is very, very well informed, and I feel confident going forward with, the information we have from her, and that's about all I have.
Can I ask Cindy, when they were discussing modifications to the tax cap calculations, did they bring up at all putting in an adjustment for inflation?
Yes,
They did?
that was in actually a couple of, I only touched on a few. I'll share with the board all the resolutions, but inflation is big and they haven't increased. There was another one for, I'll find it for you really quickly.
Right now,
For
it's based on the
amending-
consumer price index.
No,
Yeah.
right now, there's no adjustment in the cap for CPI or anything. It's just.
Previous year's consumer price index is one of the factors in the tax cap
No,
calculations.
I don't know. I think it's in terms of the
It is.
acceleration of 2%, perhaps.
Well, that's the
Yes.
cap, but it's there. Yeah, but the problem is it's a lagging indicator because the consumer price index is predicated on, eggs and things that people purchase throughout the country in the previous year, and that indicates their buying power for the previous year, and then they set the tax cap for the coming year. So it's
Well,
problematic, and
I'll
it
have to
needs
look at that.
something a
I don't
little
believe
bit
it's in the
more.
calculation. So if they say you can
Okay.
grow your levy by 2%, they're talking about actual dollars, not adjusted dollars, and that is a problem when a dollar buys, 6% less than it did the year before. So if inflation is at 6%, you really should need to increase by 6% just to have the same purchasing power as you had the year before. And that's creating a budgetary problem.
Well, they were just saying that too, like sources of revenue such as state aid have been stagnant while expenses of inflation have surged. Another one in here was because towns are prohibited from including the costs attributed to pilot and tax exempt properties in their tax cap calculation. And also, where's the other one? towns are required to reduce their tax levy limit by the amount of savings recognized from a transfer of function, so it discourages shared services. So there was a few things in here, like I said, I'd be happy to share this with the board, and you
That's
see all the
interesting.
things that were put forward. But it was nice just to talk with people from other towns and hear, you know, some of their issues are very different, and some are very much the same, and I think comes different with you know, areas of the state where, you know, some are dealing with more, I think Rick found this in some of the infrastructure in the town highway sessions with, you know, snows and snowplows and equipment issues, whereas down here in upstate, they're dealing with a lot of solar issues, and solar's really overtaking some of their farmland, and so we're very lucky that we've been able to preserve our farmland.
Okay.
Yeah, the scarcity of EV chargers on the East End was one of the big topics, and how as we modify going forward and all the new cars, that we're really gonna be under the gun to.
Create
have-
the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of interesting too, because that's a technological race. You have, chargers may be obsolete in just a few years, because you have inductive charging on cars. So if manufacturers go over to inductive charging, where you don't need chargers, where you just drive over an inductive charger. So all that infrastructure underground is still good, but the charger on the surface goes away. It makes it actually easier to do. So there's kind of a race going on in that respect.
You know,
So
putting your phone down on the.
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
Yeah, because the impression was that we needed to almost relook at our downtown and our parking situations, because people would need to recharge as they're downtown, you know, on a regular basis. Just like you kind of put your cell phone on a charger whenever you have a chance. The same thing would happen with your vehicle.
Well, it's like what the supervisor was alluding to in Europe. There was a massive electric car infrastructure, and you can actually drive down a road and charge as you're driving down that road. That's kind of the goal, at least Europe, which is maybe 20, 30 years ahead of us in that respect, is sort of showing the way. It's kind of interesting, you know. And also, you know, the cost of a charging station for a car that was solar driven was in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. That price has fallen dramatically. So all these things are sort of converging at once. I think it's a really good thing. You know, it drives innovation, which is cool. That's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Driving innovation, no pun intended there.
Yeah, no pun intended.
All right, so we have a few things for executive session, personnel, acquisition, and I'm gonna add confidential legal to that, and I think that's it. So I'll make a motion to end our work session and go into executive session on those items.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bouvier, all in favor?
Aye.